that's the highest pages that's on this wheel. He has an eyebrow piercing. Please. I'll be so honest, never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be sitting here reporting to you live that we hit 385 pages yesterday. And then her, we need to talk about her. Hello besties, welcome to a weekend reading vlog, and we're adding a little bonus twisty poo where a spinner wheel is going to pick how many pages I read each day. We have a long weekend this weekend, at least I do because it's Easter weekend. I usually work on Sundays, but we don't have work on Sundays. We're also finishing up a little Patreon readathon week. We're doing Shelf Awareness Week. My Patreon, Silly Goose Lane, is always linked down below if you would like to join us. So we had a little bingo board this week, but really the goal was to read down your shelves. I'm thinking I just want a little extra boost, a little extra dose of accountability. I've had so many books just staring me in my eyeballs that I need to read on my physical TBR, and two of them are new releases that I'm like, okay, I want to get through these with a quickness. How can I motivate myself to do so? I did go a little bit crazy with the spinner wheel. I don't usually read over like probably 200 pages a day is my max, but we have 3 days. We're trying to get through books. So this is our little page spinner. We're focused. We're focused feral readers. Okay, here we go. First spin for Friday. Mind you, it's already 1:18 in the afternoon. Hee hee. You're joking. 385 pages. Okay, that's the highest pages that's on this wheel. I was really hoping we wouldn't get that on our first day, but that's okay. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be like literally so great. We have House of Blight by Maxim M. Martineau. This is a new release as of April. It's a gothic fantasy romance. We have Adira Brilwin. She's a thread mender, so she has a life-saving power that can cure disease and heal injuries in the blink of an eye. But when she heals someone in that way, it sacrifices a sliver of her own life, and she doesn't know how much of her life goes towards each treatment, healing process that she does for someone else. She tries to hide this power because if anyone finds out about it, obviously they'll want to like use her power, and she doesn't want to sacrifice her life like all the time, but especially the fern globes. The fern globes are charming, beautiful, they possess powerful magic, and they don't take no for an answer. Adira's brothers unexpectedly contract blight, which is essentially this like deadly plague that's going through their village, town, world. Together at his estate, they'll research a cure while Orin slows their sickness and Adira hones her magic. I've already started this. I am not far in. I think I'm on chapter 3. I'm 36 pages in. So this is what I think we'll be starting with. Then my next like absolute priority that I need to get to is Boys with Sharp Teeth by Jenny Howell. This is also a new release. It's a YA dark academia where our main character is kind of an outsider at this elite preparatory school. Give me dark, give me gothic. I don't know what it is. I'm just like not in the springtime flowers, silly, goofy, fun time type of books. I am in let's talk about death and sickness and illness and tragedy. This is my like audiobook option if I need to catch up on some pages. I finally got the audiobook for Servant of Earth by Sarah Hawley. I also love this cover so much. This has to do with a deadly competition. Jenna Heron is best known in her village for being a little bit wild, some say half feral, girl, me too, but she'll need every ounce of that ferocity to survive captivity in the cruel Fae court. We are now 75 pages into House of Blight. We're on chapter 6. We are now at the, what the heck are they called? There's like a bunch of different ever families that are like these magical immortal beings. And this is the first book in a series. So I'm assuming that in the following books, we might get more exposure and get to go to the different families' houses. But right now we're at the Fern Gloves, their house. They're definitely kind of vicious. They act a little bit like fae, but they're not called that in this book. I was very curious what the motivation was, right? Like, these are immortal beings. They are supposedly immune to this disease, this blight that's tormenting the land and the people. But then we come to find out they might not be completely immune, and their like matriarchal figure in their family, their grandmother, has contracted blight, but it affects them a little bit differently, just much more slowly. And so Adira is trying to help find a cure for this blight for her brothers, but then she's supposed to also help heal one of these immortal beings. It's a bit like simplistic, even though they're not fae. It doesn't say that they have pointed ears, at least not that we've come across yet, but they do have fairly pointed canines. They use glamour, and when they want to be more intimidating, there's these two like creepy girls that live on this estate as well. They're like cousins to Oren. When they want to be more intimidating, they can like elongate their canines, which is curious. I want to see more of that in the romantic sense of what's building here. I think that that would be very interesting. There was one scene where she's traveling, they're in a carriage, she ends up outside of the carriage, and it describes the creatures that were pulling the carriage. I glanced past his hand to see the glossy black cabin was being drawn by two stags with ivory-laden antlers, glowing pale eyes, and mossy coats dotted with flowers. Very cool. It seems like a lot of earthy magic, and then also the first description of Oren, he seems very earthy. This whole family has green eyes, like different shades of green. But the clothes, my mother would have been beside herself. He wore a paisley silk cravat tugged into an emerald vest trimmed in gold stitching. The sleeves of his fern-colored tailcoat were rolled and cuffed above his elbows, exposing corded forearms that had no business being that tantalizing. He tilted his head and his locks fell behind his shoulder, exposing an intricate sword tattoo along his neck. The masterpiece was awashed with gray and lined in heavy black, the hilt adorned with a single ruby gem framed by bone-white flowers with gray leaves. The blade itself was severed, the jagged edge dripping towards his collarbone. Insects of every kind swirled around the broken material. Butterflies, moths, bees, beetles. Where everything else was inked in graphite, the insects were an artist's palette exploding with vibrant color. So I'm really curious to learn more about their magic. Everyone, I've read like 12 more pages from my last check-in, not even, like 7. Everyone has been warning Adira that she needs to be careful. No one should really be trusted in this estate with the fern globes. Even her like attendant, like maid, was like dropping her off. It's her first official day on the job at this place. She drops her off at Oren's study, and just before the door she's like, please be wary who you trust. You can't trust anyone here. The person that she's trusting the most is Oren, and that is very sketchy because he's being the nicest, he's being the most accommodating, he's helping her brothers. It all just seems a little bit sus to me. So even though I'm excited to see like what happens with her and Oren, I'm very, very suspicious. We are officially at page 162. I did stop in the middle of a chapter because I was just walking on my walking pad for 30 minutes. And once I hit 30, I was like, I'm getting off of this. I need to go chug some water. But also I feel like walking on my walking pad just increases my reading speed. I don't know what it is. This means we have read 130 pages of our 385 that we need to read, but we are a third of the way there. We have learned more about the magic. We are learning more about the Evers, and I think that they are hiding things. Also, I completely forgot about the prologue of the book. The prologue of this book is so fascinating. It has to do with this woman cheating death, and I was so curious how it was going to tie into the story, and then I completely forgot about it. So We did get a hint at that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that that happened. At first I was like, this doesn't seem like overly gothic. Usually in gothic writing, I find that there's like, the house is very personified. There are themes of death and decay, and this one obviously, once the blight was introduced, I really understood. Here's the death and decay. Now we're starting to get a little bit more into the lands that they're on. There's this tree that is horrifying, and we're starting to get some of those creepadeeps. So I am enjoying this quite a bit. It's definitely reading a lot faster. I am gripped. I am in this for a book that I basically need to finish in a day. I think it's pretty good. It is almost 4:40 right now, so I'm gonna keep just focusing and pushing through until I get hungry for dinner. We are on chapter 15. I just made it to page 206. And I'm starting to wonder if there's a love triangle at play, because Oren is definitely like the number one here. But Oren's brother Rorik, when they first described him, he's so hot. He is like the darkness. He has dark hair, green eyes, obviously. He has an eyebrow piercing. Please. And then his colors that he usually wears, I think, are gold and black, like mostly black with hints of gold. I'm really curious how insects are going to fit in here. I know that there are insects in here somewhere because they're on the cover. They keep getting brought up, but we don't know really the connection. There's been like one explanation provided that wasn't super in-depth. Miss Maxim knows how to keep us on our toes, wanting to know more. At least that's my case. I find myself fading like a little bit. We only have like 15 minutes left in these sprints. We've been sprinting for 4 hours. So like basically just reading this book for 4 hours straight. And I do think I need to take a little bit of a break soon. It's 5:30, so I'm probably gonna make some dinner that should help me focus because we need to get through the rest of this book. But I think what I might do when I start to cook dinner is take a little bit of a break, and then eventually later tonight, instead of jumping right into Boys with Sharp Teeth, I think I am going to start the audiobook for Servant of Earth, just to have an audiobook, just to have like a different format, you know, and switch things up. Also, at night, I've kind of been going back into an not insomnia phase, but it's been really, really difficult for me to fall asleep recently. Even though I'm taking magnesium, even though sometimes I take Benadryl just to like get me to sleep, because it's truly, I will just lay there for like 4 hours trying to fall asleep. And so what I've been doing is listening to audiobooks, because I have this little like eye mask that has speakers above my ears and I love it. So we'll start listening to Servant of Earth, and I think that's going to get us to 385 pages today. We are currently we've read like 170 pages. So we're almost at the halfway mark. Actually, once we finish the sprint, I'll probably be at the halfway mark for pages. Good morning, besties. I am rushing to get ready for brunch. It is Saturday and it's 10 a.m. but I wanted to start earlier on today's page goal in case we get thrown through the absolute ringer again. I'm gonna do book updates when we get back from brunch. Also, I'm taking you guys along, so you guys have to be getting ready too, right? Like we have to be doing this together. Like chug your home coffee, get ready, get your shit on, like we gotta go. I'll be so honest, never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be sitting here reporting to you live that we hit 385 pages yesterday. We read 200 pages of House of Blight, and then we read the remaining 185 pages of Servant of Earth. I started listening to the audiobook. Well, I was immersive reading because it was no joke 9 o'clock or like 9:30, and I got into bed and I tried to read a couple more pages of House of Blight, and I said, this is not fast enough, this is not speedy enough, I'm not going to bed at 4 a.m. to complete this challenge. So I immersive read with the audiobook. It is so good. I stayed up until like 1:20 in the morning finishing that last chapter, and for me, after a certain point at night, my eyeballs don't want to be reading, my brain doesn't want to be reading, I just want to be laying with my rain sounds on. No, this book had my attention the entire time, so we have to do an update for that. But anyways, I will tell you lots and lots of thoughts and feelings. We need to do our next spinner of the day, and I really hope that it's nice to us today. Not that we have like a lot to do, but Ross and I are going to the driving range later today, and then like we're doing brunch and stuff like that. So let's do it. I'm recording my screen. Page gods, please, I'm begging. You put me through the ringer yesterday, you owe me. Oh, slay. Oop, which one? 300, okay. I was hoping for 250, but you know what? That's 85 pages less than what we read yesterday. So it looks like we're gonna be finishing another book today. Today we have to finish House of Blight because the pages that we have left, that just makes sense. And then I want to start Boys with Sharp Teeth because that way I want to continue the strategy of when I don't feel like raw dogging the book, I can have that immersive read with Servant of Earth to like fall back on. Besties, how was your brunch? Did you have a good time? How was your coffee or your matcha? Are we starting a little bit earlier than we did yesterday with these pages? Yes. Are we starting a lot earlier than what we did yesterday? Not really. It is 12:41 and we're gonna start reading our 300 pages for the day. A little bit of an update. This is gonna be maybe a little bit of a longer update because we need to talk about Servant of Earth from start to finish of what we've read so far, but a little bit of an update on House of Blight. I'm still really enjoying this, and again, like I'm curious to see how this is going to end, but I'm not crazy about the romance in this. I just feel like when we do get little glimpses of them flirting, like they've been very flirty with each other. I understand that Adira finds admirable qualities in Oren, but it felt like all of a sudden they were like super into each other. And it felt like it came from nowhere. Like the buildup was 0 to 100, mainly because this has been a story very, very focused on plot. So far, I would describe this as much more plot forward with a subplot of romance. So I was very surprised when we started to get to these points where they're like about to kiss, and I'm like, how did we get here? Like, what's going on? And then I also mentioned that there's been some flirtation with Rorik, and I think that Rorik, those moments felt much more organic and like normal to me because she's been spending so much more time with him because she's doing like training with him. Whereas with Oren, she meets him like every so often when he has time. I don't know how I'm feeling about the romance in this. And so if that becomes a focal point for the second, like, not even half, because we really don't have much left of this. If the romance becomes a focal point in these pages, we'll see how it goes. But the plot is what I'm super interested in. We just had our first big plot development that we've been building to. I am in it. We're going to try to finish this, I don't know, maybe right now? I have like 2 hours to read. So we'll see how far we can get in this little reading session. And then her, we need to talk about her. So we made it to, like we said, page 180 to 183 in Servant of Earth. This audiobook is so good. I'm glad that I waited to immersive read it because this narrator is doing such a good job. So this is the Deadly Trial one. I did give the synopsis for this in the beginning. I love this world. I love Kenna as a main character. I think that she's just doing her best, but she's doing a really good job. All of the characters are so interesting. I love all of the fake characters. The fairies are very cruel to humans. It is similar to that dynamic of Folk of the Air in that the fairies are very, very cruel and they think of humans as basically one step up from animals. There are content warnings in this. The stakes are really doing it for me with this one, especially because the fairies are not untouchable. Like with these trials that they're doing, the stakes are high, not only for our main character Kenna, who has to help her lady through these trials. So if they're deadly trials for a fairy, who in this book they're not immortal, but like once they complete these trials they get access to their full power and then they become immortal, whereas before that they have limited access to their magic, but then they can get hurt and their lifespan is very, very elongated compared to immortals, but they're not immortal. So I like that element to it as well, where some of these people can die. The king of the fairies is crazy, and there is some political intrigue in this as well, where not everybody is the biggest fan of the king. I marked the second book in the series as want to read. Maybe after the first like 10%, I was like, yep, I need to see if there's a second book coming out. And there is. However, I think that the title of the second book in this series kind of gives away what's gonna happen. And I had some theories as to like what was going on, because right in the very first introductory scene of this book, our main character Kenna, there's a dagger with her on the cover. Is that focusing? This big dagger. She finds that in the bog of her hometown before she even goes to fairy or anything. This dagger has a big role to play in the story. And I had some theories about this dagger and what was going on with Kenna. And I think that the title of the second book solidifies like what I was thinking. So I was kind of like, I feel like I spoiled myself, but I'm very excited to see how we get there. Everything about this book I'm into. I think that the magic of the 6 different houses, earth, fire, light, void, illusion, and blood, I absolutely freaking love it. I can't wait. We only got through one of the trials so far and we're 40% of the way through, so I'm excited to see the other 6. What do I want to say? The way that Kenna is playing her role as a servant, but she's also being very stealthy and spy-like because she's trying to give her lady the advantage. And even though her lady at first to her is very upset that she got assigned Kenna as her like servant helper for these trials because she saw that as a massive disadvantage. So Kenna is trying to really prove her worth. She has some similarities, like she tries to make some sort of relationship connections to her lady. The way that their relationship starts to develop, I really enjoy that. It's not just her lady being vicious to her the whole time, really treating her as inhumanely as possible. That doesn't happen. Like their relationship starts to develop a little bit more, and she does see Kenna as like a worthy servant. The more I talk about it, the more I'm realizing it definitely has a lot of political undertones, and that's one of the reasons why I liked Folk of the Air so much as well. We're getting kind of an adult version of Folk of the Air, but let me be very clear, there is not like a Cardan type character in this. Like the similarities end there, and these stories are very different from each other, but that's like the best comparison I can pull from. And I always like to give, I don't know, for me, when someone's reading a book, I like to hear about other books that they think are similar, because then that helps me gauge if I would like the book. I'm so excited to get back into both of these books. I would say out of the two, I'm probably enjoying this one a little bit more. But like I said, I'm gonna save this audiobook for if we need to like really get speedy through some pages. Adira's banter with Rorik is so much better than with Oren's, that I'm really hoping this author is going for a little switcheroo of like, you think it's gonna be Oren, but then she ends up with Rorik. This banter is just so much better. Adira like goes for a training session with Rorik, and she says, all I've done since coming here is try to help, and for what? For you to be a colossal ass every time we meet. It's any wonder the rest of the family looks down upon you. The only time I've ever heard a nice thing out of that damn mouth of yours is when you were drunk. Pressing his lips together, he studied my face with enough intensity to bring a flush to my cheeks. Finally, he tipped his head forward as his lips curled into a sinful grin. You've been thinking about my mouth. I love him and his eyebrow piercing. We have officially finished House of Blight. I'm thinking it's like a 3.5, but I did really like how this ended, how it set up the next book. I think it has kind of like a soft setup for the next book. It doesn't end on a hard cliffhanger, but we definitely have some strings left untied. Not everything was wrapped in a pretty bow. I think this has unique magic. Like, that's the plot and the magic were my favorite part of this. Even though the romance that was the focus in this felt a little bit jarring when we were switching to a romantic scene or like conversation, I felt like, whoa, where is this coming from left field? The plot was enough to carry it through for me, but I think that's why it's like a 3.5. I do think that the romance is going to get better in the next book, which I'm excited to see. If you liked Mexican Gothic, which I know is such a throwback, but I loved Mexican Gothic. That was a 5-star for me. I think you would like this, especially as we get towards the end of the book and what happens with the house and some of the magic and the overall, like, I don't know, it's hard to say setting because I feel like in Gothic literature, the house and the setting are really personified, and that's exactly what happens in here, and that's why I loved Mexican Gothic so much. Some of those elements are present, but not so much in the beginning. You have to kind of wait until the end of the book. We have read, I just did the math, 131 pages, so we're like almost halfway to our 300-page goal. As much as I did enjoy this and getting the conclusion of the story, I cannot stop thinking about her. I still have about 100 pages left to read, like 90 pages left. We're on chapter 22. I think that the trials are so creative. Like, just the overall plot in this is so strong. It's one of my favorite trial books that I've read because of the creativity of the trials and how each one represents a different house of the Fae and the trait that each of them values the most. Like, Sarah, the creativity in this, I actually can't deal with it. But also how horrid this king is and how awful these atrocities are that he's committing. It's giving Amarantha. Like, it really is giving Under the Mountain from ACOTAR, and I'm here for it. Cannot stinking wait for book 2. It comes out in October and I don't want to wait that long. Also, why do all of like the best book releases of the year either come out in April or like September, October? Also, if you haven't read this yet, or if you're currently reading it, don't look up the title of book 2 because it's spoilery, just FYI. But I was too intrigued and I was like, I have to mark book 2 on my want to read list and see when it releases. And now I feel like I know what's coming. Well, going from being in like the worst reading slump of my whole life in March to April reading, I think that this is my 12th book of the month. Let me double check so I'm not a liar. Yeah, this is my 12th book of the month. Every book that I've been reading is a banger. Maybe I just love to read again. We hit our reading goal last night. This is insane. Can I just tell y'all, I have not read over maybe 100 to 150 pages in a day since starting this challenge, but I am having the best time. Like, there's no complaints for me, even though the spinner wheel has been choosing absolute chaos. loving every second of this challenge. I kind of want to do it again after today. So today's going to be our last day where the spinner wheel chooses our pages. We will most likely, let me see if there's a scenario where we're not finishing this. No, we're definitely finishing Servant of Earth and then starting another book, Boys with Sharp Teeth. So I'm terrified. Let's see what our spinner wheel chooses for us today. I think if we get any like repeats, I'm probably gonna respin. I don't know, we'll see how we feel, but let me record my screen. Oh my gosh. The spinner wheel really said you're gonna read over 300 pages every single day. So we got 315. So we have, let's see, oh my gosh, we only have like 100 pages left of this book. That's so crazy. Okay, so we have about 100 pages left, I think exactly, or 101. And then we're gonna have to read the remaining 215 pages from this one. We finished her. This was 5 stars. The way that this ended was amazing. I cannot wait for book 2, which I know we already spoke about. So we've read 100 pages. Did Steph and I do sprints for like 4.5 hours earlier? Yeah, we did. Did we yap for like 85% of it? Yeah. Yeah, of course we did. What do you mean? Read? No, we're gonna yap about everything under the sun. I've read 28 pages of The Sharp Teeth. That means we still have quite a bit. We have like a little less than 200 pages to read, and it's 10:30. I'm gonna lock in. I'm gonna put on a little ambient room. I'm about to go take a shower so I can fully just like get into bed, be comfy cozy, and super duper lock in. I think I'm gonna put these suckers on and like have rain sounds in my ears so that I don't have any distractions. The 28 pages I've read of this so far were fine. It is like dark academia murder mystery. I'm thinking it's kind of gonna be like a Truly Devious type vibe, except more undertones of romance, I believe. This is just what I'm getting from, again, the first 28 pages. The one thing that confused me a little bit was that our main character's name is Marin James. She's 17 years old. Her cousin's body is found dead in a creek on school property, and Marin knows exactly who to blame: Adrian Hargraves, Henry Wu, the enigmatic, dangerously alluring leaders of the school's social elite. What I thought was that her cousin was a student at this school, and then like she enrolls in the school to like help unveil what happened. Her cousin worked at the school as like a custodian and had keys to everywhere, obviously, as a custodian usually does. The motive for his death was these kids wanted his keys to like get to something, to do something, and so she enrolls at the school, but she's under a fake name and she's pretending to be this fake persona. So I'm interested to see how that continues to develop. I'm really trying not to like judge too quickly, because my first instinct is this is a 17-year-old. How did she like get a fake ID, enroll herself in the school in like 3 days? Also, she's from the town that the school is in, but she's saying that like no one from the school really hangs out in the town because there's nothing to do. It's a really small town that I think is in Tennessee, because she's mentioned Nashville a couple times, so I think that was to like orient us as to where we are. And so she's like, my dad doesn't know where I am. I have to get in and get out, get this ploy done in like 3 days before my dad reports me missing. That seems a little like a half-baked plan. Like, I don't see how this is going to work out. We'll see how it goes. I've basically read nothing and we still have so much to read. So let's quit yapping for once in my whole stinking life and get to reading. So we have some unfortunate news. I didn't hit 315 pages yesterday. I read 215 and I didn't want to keep going because very unfortunately this book is not it. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to say that. The setup of this book was really difficult because it wasn't believable. I really had to suspend my reality to be able to get into this. I stopped at part 2, 112. Obviously it's a YA, so like the characters are gonna be more juvenile. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, this writing style felt very juvenile. And I think of like We Were Villains was also a YA, but it's a dark academia that just read with a mature writing style that was fully fleshed out and really gave everything that it needed to give. This has a similar setup, I think, to We Were Villains, or like I kind of saw the comparison to A Secret History, where our main character is an outsider and they're trying to get in with the in crowd at one of these prestigious schools. Like, the dark academic setup is there, but I couldn't believe it because you're telling me that a 17-year-old copied and like slightly changed test scores and then sent that to this school. She wrote a fake check. They like let her into this school with a check that was going to bounce. Like, they would have cashed the check before they ever let her step on school property. So anyways, there's that. And then like the last thing that really I just couldn't get behind, our main character was sleeping in the same bedroom as one of her like male peers. What do you mean? What high school does that? Maybe it's nitpicky, but I was like very confused. I'm still like not getting into the story. It was very, very repetitive. We read about her cousin's dead body and the description of his dead body and her finding his dead body 10 times in a 100-page span. So I do think that this is going to be a hard DNF. Unfortunate, but you know what? We had some bangers in this reading vlog. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this vlog, friends. I had so much fun. If you've made it this far, please leave a little stack of books in the comments down below. I will catch you in the comments and I will see you in my next one very soon. Toodles!